So we want to thank Courtney, Ira, Luciana, and Carla because during these 2 days they've been collaborating, reporting everything that is happening in this event, and we would just yes, let's give him a round of applause. So we've been summarizing the 2 days conversation. So let's get started with this. Technology, education, media, and government. So we have this kind of common understanding. If you want to discuss post-truth, you need to be clear about what it means. This was Bartolo recommending us to do this. This is not a subject which should be exclusively within the domain of academia, and we just heard the students. Yes, they can see. You can move, so this is kind of a call to action or a solution. Use everyday life context and help students learning through complex storytelling. This is an evolution of the idea of Maximiliano converted by Michael and Kenneth, and probably someone else were talking about this common narrative that we need to retell us, and we need to transcend breaking news, and we need to transcend superficiality and make stories much more complex. The second takeaway is understanding. We have a learning crisis, and this was amazing. Harry just brought this information this morning. 51% of children younger than 10 years old are unable to read a sentence in the globe. No, this is around the globe. So this is a kind of a learning crisis, and I just confirmed that with Harry from the World Bank. So becoming a social media influencer is the aspiration of many young people. Young people are discouraged from discussion politics in class. This is what just John Portelli said, and the kids are claiming for being participating in politics. And so a possible call to action should be ensure critical thinking and digital literacy as part of the curriculum and the compulsory education. You just were saying this, Sarah and everyone here. A third kind of a common understanding is that there are many who have been left behind economically and marginalized, from refugees to young people who simply cannot afford education or not engage with technology. That was one takeaway from Vivian from Kenya. And students also, Sarah, you were talking about that when your first question to the minister, you were bringing this to the table. So a potential call to action could be something that Marina brought yesterday in our panel. Regulation and ethics can be embedded in the design of current and emerging technologies. So we can really do ethic by design. Technology can bring diversity, can be designed in a way that we all can be there and we feel we're part of the design. The fourth takeaway is fake news is a feature of the system. It is inherent in the system. Kenneth was bringing this, he said that there's been 20 years and I haven't read any that is truth. Like everyone is constructing this common understanding of their own truth. So the storification of the advertising model supporting the system inevitably creates fake news. This is from Michael Casey. So a potential takeaway would be move out of the fake news trap. Let's cultivate solidarity and avoid the accusatory move against the other. Natalie, thanks for bringing that to the table. The one who is different. Don't feed trolls. This is Alex. Telling us don't feed trolls. The fifth takeaway is the future of democracy relies on journalism more than ever. You were saying, you were telling us this morning this, and a potential call to action should be journalism needs to be redefined as a public good. And then Alex was bringing this to the table. Let's go back to Mac's name. The sixth takeaway is hypertext search died with social media. We are dominated by social media ecosystem and Google search. So here there is another potential call to action is we need a public index analogous with the private index of the Google CEO. We could build an open index protocol in the blockchain. So Michael Casey is around. He was bringing this to the table. And the seventh takeaway is we are using a platform-centric ecosystem which is owned by few, and it's private. Business stakeholders. Facebook is not a publisher, so there's no public good and no journalists behind Facebook. It's just a platform. This ecosystem was not necessarily built or maintained to be liberating or a source of critical thinking. It is there to generate a return on investment. So a potential call to action could be a publicly funded and maintained social media may be able to counter the hegemonical platforms. Let's invest in creator-centric platforms. And I'm gonna give the stage to Alex and give him also a round of an applause because he's making this possible. And we here should be very grateful to have this leadership. He has a global leadership. We came from around the globe here to attend this call, but now we need to be empowered to continue this conversation. So we open the conversation. Alex.
There are so many people to thank that we're going to leave anybody out, loads of people out, okay? I mean, John just reminded me to thank not just you guys, okay, who had to get out of school or colleges or whatever it is, but the people who actually facilitated this, okay? Headmasters, headmasters, the people who responded to various hysteric, I'm looking at one, various hysteric emails towards the end and say, yeah, okay. So there's a big thanks from that point of view. I mean, and I need to get the thanks out because I forget people. I mean, without Courtney, this would not have been possible. Okay, I can tell you. And the same thing. And without all the team who very patiently then, from Ira to Lucien to Carla to anybody else who and then literally Lina being crashed into doing rapporteuring duties when the guy who was supposed to be doing rapporteuring duties because of the Slovenian airline crashing out of business couldn't make it here, okay? So there was a lot of accidents happening. I'm not going to take time, guys, 2 minutes, okay? We're all tired. I'm glad that some of us are still left standing, okay? I have bored many students, some of you I've taught, with a quote from John Lennon, which says, "How can I go forward when I don't know which way I'm facing?" And I used to think this had something to do with strategy, but the more I thought about this, I think our intention, my specific intention at the outset was to identify and listen to different voices, alternative voices, discordant voices, uncomfortable ones, to help us understand. And that's why the conference is called Understand. Okay, where are we? I was honestly prepared for anything from fights to trolls the one thing I was not prepared for is when somebody told me you are censoring our comments on Slido. I promise you, it is impossible to censor because I had clicked on a button which says uncensored. Okay? So whatever came, okay? Slido has a little feature which says you can either look at the featured ones. By the way, you can game systems, you realize that, right? In terms of voting for things. You can go click, and this becomes more popular, okay? So apologies, I wasn't mucking around with your Slido. From the very first moment, we tried to scramble for something. What is it? What's going on? I came across the term post-truth by accident when I started, okay? Like anybody, I Googled. And then other people tell me, post-truth, this is just so old news, almost fake news, yeah? But I found myself almost scrambling for words. So in a way, that's why my point of departure was going back to Scrabble and trying to assemble words. And the way I was trying to assemble that video was sometimes I'd be on a plane and I'd have a phone and I was trying to look at these words, and it was only through serendipity. And then the brilliance of one of Vince Briffa's former students, who was into stop motion photography, and then that we actually connected words, Scrabble, and the noise happening around us, I guess. I found this quote last week from a failed politician, and not necessarily from somebody whose views I would admire, because, this is Rory Stewart from the Conservative Party, who is now going to run as an independent. And he said, I feel I have become steadily stupider over the last 9 years of being he says, politician. In my case, in terms of being academic, consultant, parent, you name it. and was beginning to lose the ability to listen, to think, and to trust, losing all the skills that you need to actually change the world. I think it is time for us, the so-called experts in our field, to ask questions and to seek answers. Otherwise, we risk becoming totally irrelevant to them. Can a conference become a source for public good? Should this type of conference become something else? Maybe not in Malta, because it may be too uncomfortable because of the narratives we're all dealing with. Could it go somewhere else? Should we stop calling these things conferences and just calling them what? Exchanges, honest exchanges? Should we use the media of the day to be more honest? And maybe for once, if somebody comments on Slido, it's not anonymous, but we have enough strength in our voices, like some people had and should have again, to say, it's me, it's my name, as opposed to my brother going around with a police escort at the moment. So I want to put some of these things in your heads, okay? How do we move? And this is the one thing which I leave you with. From the negative, which is where we started from, to looking at people who build things, like friends, colleagues in IT, like the Mike Caseys of this world, like the learning machines of this world, okay? How can we move from a negative viewpoint to actually getting something done? So that's the last thing I can tell you. That's what I will leave you with. Is there scope or is there not scope? We will crowdsource the manifesto. So what we showed you was simply a snapshot of an attempt over 45 minutes over lunch to start to troll all of the material that we've actually accumulated, which is recorded. We will share all of that material with you and with anybody else under a Creative Commons license. That's the way we have to do it. And then on that basis, we'll decide if there is a future for this or if there is no future for this, okay? I thank you all for bearing with us, okay? Thanks very much.